Hello, amazing souls. Do you ever find yourself doubting that gut feeling and second guessing your every choice? Or maybe feeling disconnected from your spirit guides? If you're nodding along, you've landed in the right place. Welcome to the Soul Vibe Insights Podcast. I'm Maddie Hollingsworth.
And I'm Emily Pearl. We're all about demystifying soul energy, emotional awareness, developing your intuition, and the Akashic Records. We're here to make these powerful tools accessible on your journey of self discovery.
So pull up a chair, relax your vibe, and let's jump right into today's show. Hello, amazing souls, and welcome to today's show. Emily and I are excited to be back with you once again, and we're going to roll right into part 2 of Starseed and Star Traveler Souls. Just what are they like? In last week's show, Emily and I dove in and we discussed how many Starseeds or Star Traveler Souls are here on Earth, the big drive they have to complete their life missions. We gave some examples of qualities being harmonically resonated and ingrained into Earth's energy by these Starseed soul groups just by being here, as well as the importance of spirituality and that good old spiritual amnesia being used as a challenging aspect of learning while on Earth. Today we're going to discuss some other unique qualities to our Starseed and Star Traveler soul friends and tell you about a special group of Starseeds today. Don't worry if you missed part 1. The information in this episode will stand on its own just fine. At some point, go back and check out last week's episode so you can get the full picture of Starseed soul groups, though. Honey, you want to jump in and lead us off?
Hello! So let's talk about starseed souls and physical reality on Earth. We did kind of touch on this last time in the last podcast, but because a lot of starseed soul groups come from higher dimensions, and again, I'm going to reiterate that this doesn't mean better. I'm talking higher frequency, which means vibrating at a higher level, like more times in a certain period of time. So more times in a minute than a denser dimension would. So as you could see, because of this change from this higher frequency to this lower density Earth, a lot of starseed soul groups have a lot of trouble when they are here on Earth. Because a lot of these places, they don't actually have physical bodies. It's more like they have light bodies, more similar to the way you would experience your soul back in spirit. Because Earth is a lot more dense than a lot of these other planets that these soul groups are from, they don't experience the range that we do here on Earth. They don't experience the psychological, along with the emotional, along with the physical, and dealing with your own spiritual aspects like we do here on Earth, which is why we all incarnate here, is because we learn so much through all of this happening at once. And I mean, I think we can all agree it's not an easy experience. And so it is through these hardships, through these challenges, through these, all of it combined is what makes Earth such an incredible place for soul growth and for learning.
Yeah, it makes it super unique in the universe to experience all those things at one time. And another aspect that starseeds, because of the density and having a physical body, and many of them from their home systems, having light bodies and energetic bodies, they can end up feeling like restricted or compressed in their body. That can be kind of a normal feeling and have this innate desire for freedom and for space to just expand and be because that's what they're used to on a soul level. And then there's concepts that are unique to physical reality that they don't have either, that they only get to experience on Earth, and that's like nourishment, having to feed your body, or producing waste, or experiencing pain and pleasure. That's unique to being here. So that's another thing that makes like the physical reality just kind of weird for them.
Producing waste. That's such a polite way of saying that.
And I just wanted to say too, like for no matter your soul's origins, I mean, it's difficult to be here and it can be overwhelming for anybody or any soul type to be in the body here, but the earth souls are the ones that they do it every time. So they can be a little more used to it And we have found through our soul journey Akashic readings that the souls that have been here in higher numbers, in the hundreds of times, that they might have a little bit easier time because they have come to Earth so much, versus souls that are not having incarnated here as much quite yet. It's kind of like just practice makes perfect, and it takes a while to get used to.
Yeah, and if we take a look at the physical differences of what it would be like, coming from this light body to this dense earth body, we looked at the physical side of it, but if you're thinking about the emotional side, I mean, if you come from a planet where all you know is love, and then you're dropped down here in Earth, and there's just this plethora of all of these emotions to experience, that specific soul group or soul will have a lot of issues dealing with the polarity of the light and the dark emotions, if you will. They may have a really hard time wrapping their head around like the point of it all, like why we need war or why we need anger or sadness or any of those really hard concepts to grasp. And to be honest, I'm kind of one of those where I'm like, why do we even need all this? But I mean, I do understand, without sadness, how do you know what happiness is? Or without anger, how do you know where your boundaries are? How do you know when it's time to make changes in your life? And so I do think a lot of these negative emotions actually serve us in positive ways if you're willing to allow them to do so. But coming from this headspace of, oh, everything is wonderful and everyone just loves each other, to what the hell am I doing here? There's a lot of hardships and a lot of challenges to navigate when that is the case.
That's really well put, and it's a great transition for where we want to head next with this. And that's a lot of Starseed and Star Travelers' home systems have kind of evolved or grown to live with more of a harmonious kind of resonance, of like a collective mindset or a highest good for all, for the entire species, for that whole soul group. There isn't this nationality, and like Emily said, there's not this intense negativity like we have on Earth. They're not really dealing with that, and that's one of the reasons they come to Earth, because like Emily said, how can you truly understand like how good you have it with divine love and everybody being connected unless you come and experience what that's not like? Then you can really truly appreciate just how amazing that experience is, to be fully connected, to trust each other, to love each other, to have that divine connection at all times.
And I think too, they've just had a lot more practice. They've had a lot more time to develop this more harmonious resonance with this as a collective mindset, because they've been around for a lot longer. They've been incarnating together and around for a lot longer. From our research in the Akashic Records, we found that a lot of soul groups are much, much older than, Earth is. In fact, I mean, some of the soul groups even helped develop Earth, which we'll get into a little bit later, but I guess practice makes perfect.
Absolutely. If you've had hundreds of thousands or millions years, in our linear time of more practice time, I mean, think of the achievements or the evolution or the coming together that could happen, or the worlds that didn't and maybe destroyed themselves along the way out there, but we don't really get to work with them anymore because they're not around. But the ones we do, we know that they've had a lot more opportunity and chance to, to exist, and also and not exist in the way in Earth with all this intense duality and negativity, to, exist where they are connected, and to see how far they can take that as a soul group. That's pretty cool. And, something we talked a lot last episode about was like spiritual amnesia and its importance for how Earth works and how it helps us, to be here, and we can exist in duality because we have that disconnection. Well, a lot of these home star systems for the star seeds, they don't have spiritual amnesia. So they exist connected to divine energies of love, truth, power, and abundance. That this is always, at all times, readily available to them. It's vastly different than what we experience here on Earth. We're connected, but yet we have that amnesia and forget that we are connected.
Well, and that's the interesting thing because not only do we experience spiritual amnesia, and which makes us forget that we are connected to the divine, but some people never even find their connection back to the divine, period. Like, some people stay completely disconnected from their soul, from their divinity, from their source energy, like their entire lives. And most of the time, these are the people that are very lost in life. These are the people that are trying to overpower each other and cause pain on, their fellow man because they don't understand. They just feel like they're, lost in the universe all on their own. They don't understand this connection. And so, if you grow up in a star system where you have that divine connection the entire time, then just think how much more, inner peace that you have knowing that and feeling that at all times. It would be a beautiful thing.
Yes, absolutely.
And I mean, I feel like it's a really beautiful thing when we as humans find that connection here on Earth and we realize, oh, wait a minute, there's more than just, what meets the eye here. I am more than just my physical human self. I have divinity within me as well. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
And because star seeds in their star home systems kind of have that experience already, life tends to be a little more intuitive. They'll communicate telepathically as well as with feelings and desires. There's no need to have all these different languages to try to get things across when you're just already connected in that way. Kind of getting back to like why they would want to come here, because to experience that disconnection, star travelers, like a lot of their life mission will have a tone of, or even like a full on, like this is a big effort of what they're doing, is to really dive into the full bandwidth of the emotional experience while in a body here. That this is in an effort to better understand emotions as a whole and not just from their collective perspective.
And I would say intimacy probably plays a huge part of it as well. I mean, if you're, I can only imagine bouncing around in a light body, you're probably, not experiencing sex and intimacy in the same way at all because you don't have that physical aspect. It's probably more just like, I'm gonna
I'm gonna join my light with you.
yeah, it's just like this like
and
inner
you and you
feeling
and you and you and you.
so there's that too, not just the emotional experience, but that physical intimacy as well.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that at all. That that there is that chance to have that one-on-one intimacy or small groups or whatever they're into, their thing is, but to not be in this huge collective of it, but to really like refine it into just two people or three or four, whatever that is for them, but in just a much smaller group. That's a really good point.
And I mean, how much do you learn about yourself when you're in a relationship? Because other people, they play these mirrors for you. And not to mention, every single relationship, not just intimate relationships, but friendships as well, they are just also different. And you'll find that your different friends or, different intimate partners, they bring out something different in you. And so you get to experience yourself in a different way as well.
Totally. I mean, because there's your energy, their energy, and then the coming together, that third energy of the relationship and who you are within the relationship, as well as who you are as individuals. It definitely, like, I've looked back at my life and realized how much I learned through relationships I had, to even prepare myself to be ready to have the kind of relationship and connection that we have now. I had to learn. I had to kind of shift and realize who I was in relationship throughout different relationships, and to become a better version of myself and better ready to be able to like support you and love you in the ways that I can do and that you might need. Like, I had to learn along the way and fuck some things up and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I had a lot of learning to do.
We found this whole kind of personally for us, this mission of understanding emotions and it being part of why we came to really study it and know and to take a lot of learning experience back with us. And I know everyone goes through the ups and downs and, kind of an emotional roller coaster in life. That's life on Earth in general. But I feel like I signed up especially to have a massive roller coaster and loop-de-de-loops and twisties and whatever's on that roller coaster of life, and we've kind of found this within some of our personal friendships that we know are star seeds, kind of our own little like incarnation soul groups. And within our client group as well, we've seen this come up that part of their mission is to study emotions, to really fully experience that bandwidth of potentiality that we have here. And Emily mentioned it before, that whole how can you really know something without experiencing its opposite? That's what life here is about, that experiential knowledge. That's why it's so precious, and the Earth School was created in the first place. And we have these crazy intense experiences in our 3D reality, is so we can know what love is and hate is, and find out where we are in the middle. Where's our balance point here? And fully appreciate love because we've experienced the opposite. Joy because we've had sadness, all this stuff. It really does work like that.
Well, and I mean, I feel like it stems a lot from our healing in the afterlife, in between life trainings as well. Maddie and I, we spent some time today reading over our Akashic Record readings again, because we always get new insight every time we reread them. But we were thinking about that today, and we both, we share a lot of things in our readings, but one of them is this in between lifetime training where we both like help souls heal after they've experienced traumatic events while on Earth. So it would make a lot of sense that we would be here exploring emotions, because we'd want to understand the full range of what these souls are experiencing when they come back into spirit, so that we can help them to the best of our abilities and, even better.
Sometimes these traumatic events and things that, our soul energy will help others when we're not incarnated on earth is, like imagine like losing yourself. You're so overwhelmed by your emotions that you do regrettable actions. You've lost control in a fit of emotional energy, in a fit of despair or rage or whatever it is, and been a part of, a traumatic event, causing it or receiving it. Like, so coming here and studying this and understand like how easy it is to just fly off the handle and say things that you may not really mean, and and have to come back and apologize for, or not. I mean, whoever you are, but just to experience this full range, to be overcome, so we're here studying, understanding how this can happen, to allow our souls to have a better understanding so we can heal more effectively in the afterlife. Help people kind of slough off these energies and stuff.
And I mean, really, on a grander scale, I feel like this idea of emotional awareness and emotional intelligence is really coming more into the collective conscious and becoming something that is in our awareness more. So I think that this is a great thing for us all to, become aware of our own emotions as well as the emotions of others, and really help shift this paradigm within the human race to become more emotionally intelligent humans. It definitely would, help us with our communication, help us with our emotional control. It would really help us be able to be better communicators as well.
I have nothing to add. I couldn't say that any better. It would do all those things, babe. It would be amazing if it gets more and more and more into the collective.
But I
Yeah.
definitely think there's more pressure on it now than there was before. I mean, before it was like, oh, you don't show your emotions, because if you show emotions, that's sign of weakness. And then what happened? Those are the people that end up going postal, or end up, you know, acting out on the people that they love and not being able to come back from it because they don't know how to properly manage their emotions.
How to
And
regulate, right? Yeah.
yeah, to regulate those emotional shifts. And so it really is a good thing to have more pressure on this idea of having more emotional intelligence and awareness. And I mean, really, the way to regulate your emotions is to feel the entire scope of them. I mean, yes, but also if you're feeling anger, you need to feel it, but have healthier outlets for it, instead of, turning against the people that you love and spraying it all over them, essentially.
I think that's a huge part. And I mean, for me personally, working through the anger around my childhood traumas, it was important for me to find safe ways to move that. And I bought a punching bag. I would hug trees and share it with them if I'd ask them, can I share some emotions and you'll help me ground them, that I need to move. And if a tree said yes, I'd give a tree a hug and share it some love. And then, just shake with anger around it, and it would help ground it out for me. Even you and I in our relationship, when we would hold like couch cushions,
Yeah.
when we're frustrated, and here you go. And then, just start chirping off at each
Wailing
other and
on
just
it.
bam, bam, bam.
Yeah,
So I mean,
that
there's
was
healthy
trying
ways
to
then.
process the hospitality industry.
Yeah, right. The frustrations around that. So all this talk about emotions, and if you know someone, or you are this person and that places great importance on emotional awareness and emotional intelligence and open communication in relationships with regards to emotions, this very well could be a sign that you or they are a starseed soul exploring the bounds of emotions here on Earth. Because there are a lot of us with either a small part of the life mission is that, or a big part of starseeds are here now, really working. That's one of the greatest gifts of being on Earth. Well, I'm ready to move on and talk about a pretty cool starseed soul group, unless you have anything else to say about emotions.
No, let's go for it.
Yeah. So there is this really specialized group of starseed souls. They're known as the blueprinters. And blueprinters are star traveler souls, in that they've had their formative incarnations in another star system and not on planet Earth.
Well, I'm under the impression it's not just another star system. It could also be in another galaxy as well.
They could come from a parallel universe as well.
Well,
absolutely.
Or another galaxy.
Or another galaxy.
So basically anywhere in the universe.
The cool thing is that they now identify themselves with their calling as a blueprinter soul, and not of their original soul group of affiliation, wherever they've come from. The blueprinters were the ones that received the mandate from Source to create the Earth School, so souls could come to learn and grow through experience. Blueprinters can receive a mandate from Source to create other worlds and systems as well, but we're going to talk about the blueprinters here for Earth. But that's what they do. They're all about designing and creating other planets and systems for souls to then inhabit and incarnate on.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. The blueprinters, we've definitely come across quite a few in our line of work, in our Akashic Record readings. And the blueprinters, there are 6 subgroups, and like Maddie said, they are responsible for upholding this blueprint of Earth, the original blueprint, and they also are responsible for their roles in the evolution of Earth. So the first subgroup is called the Blueprint Originators, which you could probably guess from the name that they are the ones responsible for overseeing and designing the original Earth blueprint. So their specialty is designing and creating new worlds wherever they go. They're the ones that were in charge of creating the concepts like spiritual amnesia, the chakra system to keep us connected to the divine energy, and soul growth or evolution, just to name a few of the things that were part of this original Earth template.
In a modern way to think about the blueprint originators, they're kind of like computer programmers that are developing video games. But in their case, the video game is incarnating into Earth School. But they're laying the foundation for things, and they need help to really refine and develop Earth School. But they're coming up with the big concepts, and they're working through and kind of coming up with the original blueprint. The next one is the blueprint designers. And they come in and they're adding like individualized aesthetics and beauty to the multitude of life forms that would inhabit Earth. So they don't design the blueprint or the big concepts at play. They come in and work on the fine details, how we have so many different, thousands of flowers to look at and to smell and all the differences. The designers are coming in and designing all these cool little things that we get to experience. All the plethora of life form that's going to be here. And then there's blueprint technicians. Now they do the nitty gritty. Like they come in and they take the designs from the originators and the added specification from the designers, and they implement these plans. The technicians are the ones that set up the interaction of the physical with the spiritual. They set up our energetic systems, like actually build them and design the chakras, the meridians, and the interactions between these things with our nervous system, our endocrine system, and our energy body, like how the physical connects to the energetic layers. And they also, the technicians, set up the layers of our energy field within our aura, our mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies, as well as programming our 12 strands of DNA. So they came in and did a lot of the technicians did a lot of the heavy lifting and, fine tuning of the designing that they got from the originators and the designers.
Yeah, some very intricate work, the blueprint technicians. I mean, really all of this is very intricate work, so it's pretty, just spectacular what they have all put together. So the next subgroup is called the blueprint deliverers. And so these types of souls have the mission of ensuring that humans keep a connection to divine love. And so divine love can manifest in acts of compassion, kindness, respect, acceptance, and unconditional love. Just to name a few. The deliverers will essentially help those that have forgotten who they are on a soul level and that they are eternal spiritual beings. So these are kind of what we were talking about earlier, the lost souls that never fully reconnect with their divinity. The blueprint deliverers will probably be sent and help in connection with like guardian angels, or even maybe send messages to guardian angels or spirit guides to help these beings, these humans, like reconnect with their divinity. And so a lot of times they'll do this either naturally or unconsciously, and the deliverers just have a way about them that makes people feel cared and valued for.
Yeah,
Cared for and valued.
yeah, and I was going to say when they incarnate, they might be the social workers or the counselors that seem to take on some of the wilder cases. The people that really just, they need to somehow feel cared for and valued in some way, that somebody's got their back, somebody hears them, sees them, recognizes them, so they can help people realize that there's more than what they've been experiencing.
Yeah, they could be considered the earth angels.
Yeah, totally. The incarnated earth angels. Yeah, I like that, babe. There's also the blueprint translators. They're concerned with the part of Earth's blueprint that states that we experience life through the body, mind, emotions, and spirit. The translators remind us of the balance between the physical and the spiritual. They know that we are to live connected to our souls, that that's the aim, essentially, and they'll help others to manifest their soul gifts in the physical. And they, just like the name implies, when they're incarnated, the translators will kind of help translate Earth's blueprint into more digestible formats for those that are too physically or too mentally oriented, that aren't living in that balance. They're here, they're very rooted, but they're disconnected from the spiritual side. And through their own communication style, they'll remind us of connecting to the spiritual side of life. And that they can do this in a really just very down-to-earth kind of way. The translators are, so they're very much connected. How do we get this like crazy complex blueprint plan and energy, and how it all is interconnected into ways that people can understand? Reach people that are very in their mind or very in that physical and, less spiritually connected, that are the balance is out of whack. So they kind of help that translation process for us while they're here.
And the last of the blueprinter soul group of origin are the blueprint changers. These can sometimes be referred to as the blueprint connectors. And these are the subgroup that are here doing research on the negative aspects of life here. And they basically take this information and they inform the Blueprinter Soul Group about these experiences, and in an effort to, make little tweaks and to create change when it is needed. They are very, very brave souls.
Yes, they
That
are.
they will often incarnate into rather difficult or traumatic situations, things that represent the very, negative aspects here on Earth, like abuse or incest or prolonged victimization. And the Changer's mission is really to recover, like really heal from these situations, and then to help others heal from their own similar experiences and situations as well. So, like I said, the Blueprint Changers are, they could probably be considered Earth angels as well. If they are able to, really endure and help others heal from these situations after being able to stay in a mind frame to where they're willing to do that after experiencing such dramatic things in their life, that's pretty amazing to me, I feel like.
And then to come back and do it again. Not all of these subgroups will incarnate as much, but the Blueprint Changers, they're coming often enough to try to help us with this negative side, with the destructive side of humanity, these negative experiences and this, the traumatic situations, that to really come in and just get punched in the face and figure out how to recover, and then teach other people how to work through things too, over and over again. That's just mind-boggling. The victim perpetrator lifetime is a way of learning for any soul. But the Blueprint Changers, that's pretty much their only choice. That's what they do all the time. Come in and just take what humanity can dish out and then learn how to heal and recover, and then teach others how to too. That's just wild to me, and so beautiful at the same time.
So, another aspect of starseed souls that we have found is that they tend to be drawn in a higher proportion to more first world civilizations or advancing countries. And the reason for this is because they often have much more complex life missions. And if you incarnate into a place where survival is at the first and foremost of your incarnation, then you will have a really hard time playing out any other life mission if all you are focused on is survival. And so, like Earth souls, starseed souls do need to learn about survival here in the 3D. Typically, after this learning phase is when they usually will start to be drawn more towards the developing countries. So, kind of like I was saying, it's after they kind of make it through that survival stage here on Earth, where they incarnate more in these developing countries where survival is the main focus, then they will be drawn more towards the first world civilization so that they can play out their life mission.
We talked about how Earth souls, a couple episodes back, just how they tend to stick around the developing countries quite often. When starseed souls, they tend to choose the advanced countries just because, like Emily said, it'll be easier for them to work on their life lessons and get their missions across because they're not dealing with survival all the time. I really just wanted to make sure we kind of touch base on that. I find that an interesting distinction between Earth souls and starseed souls. And there's really just one more thing we wanted to kind of cover that we found kind of unique with starseed and star traveler souls is they can be less drawn to having a family of their own compared to Earth souls, especially if their soul is nearing the end of an incarnation cycle on Earth, because creating a family, having children, creates karma. I also personally feel as the Earth is kind of in a shifting phase right now of evolution and awareness, and I feel like humanity as a whole are kind of having less children in general, and I think population will probably start booming again after things shift and kind of play out a little bit more, because Earth can support so many more humans. There's that potentiality, but we have to share resources better and have to take better care of Mother Gaia as well.
Well, I mean, I think Earth is acting out right now because we're not taking proper care.
I totally agree.
I think Earth is having all these upsets, and there's a lot of like natural disasters happening because it's, its way of basically resetting itself and demanding respect, if you will.
Absolutely. We literally could just be shaken off at any point, us humans, and we don't really, I mean, we don't need to live in fear, but I don't think we all, as a complete whole of humanity, have the reverence and respect for Earth and how special and how lucky we are that Earth allows us to be here.
Yeah, I remember a good friend of mine, this was many, many years ago. She said, I'm really worried about Earth, I'm really worried about the environment. And I was like, I'm not. I'm more worried about the people because Earth could at any time shake us off like a bad case of fleas. Obviously, I care about the environment and I love Mother Earth, but I also care about the people. I want us to choose to have a more loving and harmonious place to live by making better choices and by treating where we live in a more, with more respect and with more love. Because I mean, the earth is very powerful. It's a very powerful force. And I just know that if we continue down the path that we're on, then it could lead into mass destruction, mass natural disaster in an effort to really regenerate the earth.
We all have free will and have the power of choice and how we treat Mother Earth and what we do, and if we live in a symbiotic relationship or if we just take and take. And, nothing is destined when it comes to Earth and the advancement of humanity. We still have to come and make the choices that lead to humanity's advancement and humanity's overall ascension into higher planes of consciousness and connectedness and harmony.
Well, I think that is the next step of consciousness, or at least I hope it
I,
is that we take everything that we've learned from, the technology and from just everything that we've learned so far and then apply it to also living harmonious in our environment and harmoniously with the earth.
I
Or at
think
least
that,
that's my hope.
excuse me, I think that's the shift that we're involved in here. And it may take hundreds of years to play out, but I think we're at the precipice of being able to, collectively make those choices and we ascend into this higher consciousness. I totally think that's the next stage that is available for us, but we still have to make the choices. We still have to want to come together as humanity,
Well, I
as a
mean, we
whole.
came from there already when there were hunter and gatherers. I mean, hunter and gatherers lived in beautiful harmony with the earth. But then there wasn't all the technology and all the things that we have now, And so now it's about applying this with that as well and finding more balance and harmony between all of the things.
Yay. Positive expectations and a hope that we'll come together.
Harmonizers.
Yep, absolutely. So just to get back to children and starseeds, as we digressed a little about Mother Earth, but she's always worth going on a tangent for. I don't want to imply that starseeds don't have children. Having families and children and loving relationships and, creating the karma that kids bring. I mean, this is a huge part of the learning process and the growth process. The majority of starseeds that we know have kids. I think it's more rare that they don't than those that have families. But I don't think it may be quite as a big of a biological imperative for them as it tends to be for Earth souls. Inherently, an Earth soul knows that they keep humanity going and that their souls have bodies to come back into by creating families and more generations and future generations. So there's a huge biological imperative for them to just make that possible. And, it also makes it possible for us starseeds to come back and have bodies too, as well. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I've really enjoyed these couple of shows and talking about starseeds and star travelers and sharing some information that we have.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. Awesome. I did just want to kind of put it out there that Emily and I are sharing what we know, and we're doing our best to speak to common grounds and a majority of what starseeds might be going through, but it's so unique and so diverse here on Earth that, you know, it all really just depends on a soul's chosen probabilities for growth and learning while they're here on Earth. Anything that we're talking could be completely the opposite for somebody because what they want to learn and grow and experience is different than the norm. That happens.
There's infinite probabilities for why a specific soul chooses to incarnate and what they're here working on and learning. And we've seen every single one of our soul journey readings has been completely different. I mean, even if people have been in the same soul group of origin, as we compile these readings together, we can see how their life is so different from, their fellow person and their soul group of origination. It's just been it's been so amazing.
It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, fascinating.
You might see a few similarities over 16 sections of a reading, but then there's just so much interconnected, different, unique aspects too that it's like, wow, they have some similarities. Yes, I have some similarities with other people, but we're all vastly different. It's just cool to see it and compile it in an Akashic reading like that for folks. And if any of you are interested in seeing just what your soul has been up to through your many incarnations and your soul group of origination and where you come from and what you do, if you're interested in this, then there will be a link in the description to get a Soul Journey Akashic reading from Emily and I. It would be an honor for us to just show you how amazing you are and how unique you are and how special you are.
Yeah, and we've actually had the opportunity to put together readings for, families as well, and just seeing how different everyone in the family is and how different their missions are, but yet how they can all kind of harmoniously interconnect too. You can kind of see how each of their different missions are playing out with the others' missions. It's so incredibly fascinating and just an incredible tool as well.
Yeah, so thanks for coming and giving us the opportunity to check into things like this and adding your unique flavor to the whole of what's going on here. Earth really is special, and I'm honored to be a part of it with you all. And with you, honey.
I love you.
I love you.
All right, thanks so much for listening. We love you all too.
We love you, and we'll catch you next week. Hey, soul friends. Thanks for listening to today's show. If you've been resonating with our podcast, Emily and I would be honored if you would share this episode with a friend. Or even better, share this episode on your socials and tag us at Soul Vibe Insights so we can connect with more amazing, like-minded souls just like yourself. Have a great day.